誰だてめえおいなんだ体が動かねえ
Finally, we already have some spoilers for chapter 1112 of the One Piece manga, where we see that the gorosei are trying to prevent the Straw Hats from escaping from Egghead. However, the strong point of the spoilers is about possible clash between Zoro and Nusjuro. This fight had already been theorized many years ago. And because of this, many theories have raised the possibility of Zoro finally receiving his first superior grade sword, while also believing that Zoro will finally reveal the secret of his left eye. Is all this possible? Stay with me, we'll talk about this now. And well, my dear pirates, before we start, hit the like button with all the power of your hockey, and of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos, okay? Go to spoilers. The One Piece manga has finally returned after a 3-week-long hiatus. The recent chapter left behind a lot of unanswered questions, especially with the way the Iron Giant suddenly started walking and apologizing to Joy Boy. The connection between the two had already been hinted when Luffy first used his Gear 5 on Egghead, but the recent chapter confirmed there's a lot of history between the two. Moreover, Gorosei's monstrous powers and regenerative abilities are a hindrance to the crew's escape. The situation is worsening, and Gorosei would stop at nothing to stop Vegapunk's message from being broadcast to the world. The upcoming chapter is chock full of surprising moments as the manga makes its grand return. According to brief spoilers, Nusjuro single-handedly defeats all Pacifitas who were working to protect Bonnie, but Zoro appears, probably to protect her. As hinted in the recent chapter, York finally leads Mars to the monitor room, and the latter doesn't waste a second before destroying it. However, the broadcast is still playing, meaning the broadcast is happening from somewhere else. Mars notices a strange sound and follows the source. Meanwhile, Luffy is fighting Jupiter and Warcury and gets injured. Mars reaches the Punk records and says Vegapunk is out of luck. But just then, he notices something and looks up. It's most likely the Iron Giant walking around on Egghead. Since it's already operating perfectly, it might prove itself helpful against the Elders. Well, as you noticed, a lot of things can happen, mainly with Vegapunk and Bonnie. However, in today's video we will focus on Bonnie, or rather, Zoro. It is very clear to all of us that Zoro will be Nusjuro's opponent, especially because they are both swordsmen. And this clash was already theorized a long time ago. Since the sword that Gorosei carries could be a cursed sword, the Shodaikatetsu, one of the 12 supreme grade swords, this being the last sword that Zoro would use before facing Mihawk. Before continuing, I would like to make it clear that for me, Zoro should continue with the Shusui he received from Ushimaru instead of Emma, since it was confirmed that Zoro is his descendant. Therefore, Zoro should be the legitimate bearer of that sword. However, the Emma sword was also very important, as was Shusui. I'll explain why in a moment. But that being said, if Nusjuro's sword is a demonic sword and one of the 12 supreme grade swords, it would be perfect for Zoro. Firstly, because Zoro wants to be the greatest swordsman and Mihawk has what was said to be the most powerful sword in the world. And only with a sword of the same level as Zoro, theoretically, could he beat him. So, maybe Mihawk won't be Zoro's last great fight. Maybe Zoro will be known as the greatest swordsman in the world even before facing Mihawk, since Mihawk has never faced a gorosei, at least that's what we know so far. However, there is a big problem in this equation, which is the regenerative factor and the strong resistance of the gorosei. Not even Luffy with Gear 5 is able to hurt them, so another theory that was made a long time ago may finally happen. Yes, we're talking about Zoro's left eye. It has long been believed that Zoro's left eye hides a special ability, and this special ability could give Zoro the ability to cut out an enemy's soul. I myself have already spoken in a previous video about how Zoro calls himself the King of Hell at the same time that he faced an enemy who was already dead and received his sword from him. We have to remember that Zoro saw his own death face to face. All of this is due to his desire to fight and his desire to sacrifice himself, going to the limit to the point of coming close to death. We saw this happen several times in One Piece. Both the Emma sword and the Shusui sword encompass this mystical characteristic that Zoro is a being who can face even death. And if we remember the beginning of One Piece, we will see that Zoro bet his own arm as a challenge to the curse of the Sandaikatetsu. In other words, death is intertwined with Zoro, and perhaps that is why Zoro has his eye closed. the Eye of Death, or perhaps the Haki of the Soul. Perhaps this is the ability that Zoro will be able to reveal to us in the next chapters of One Piece. The Cut of the Soul, where only those who have already defied a curse, already wielded a dead man's sword, and already faced death can use this ability. But I want to know your opinion about everything we commented here today. But of course, if you made it this far, it's because you like the content, so it doesn't hurt to subscribe to our channel and become one more member of our fleet, my dear pirate. And of course, do not forget to press the like button. That helps a lot in spreading the video and the channel, so help us to become the largest fleet of pirates here on YouTube, okay? A big hug for everyone. And until the next video.